Hi, I'm Ian McCollum, and I teach tuba and euphonium at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and I'm going to play the Adagio and Allegro movements from Handel's Sonata No. 7. Hi, My name is Ian McCollum, and I teach tuba and euphonium at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And I'm here to talk with you today about the 2019 NCMEA All-State Etude for tuba for grades 11 and 12. This is the Adagio and Allegro movements from Handel's Sonata No. 7. So the first thing that you might notice about this etude is that there's a lot of trilled ornamentation throughout the music in both movements. It's likely that you know what a trill is, the rapid alternation between two notes. However, it's important to note that these are Baroque trills. And these trills will start on the beat, but they will start on the trilled note or the note stepwise above. For instance, in measure 2, we have our first trill, and it's written over G. That trill is going to be between G and A flat. However, we're going to start that trill on the beat on A flat. So you might not think it, but tempos are particularly problematic in this etude. The first movement is very, very slow. Eighth note equals 66, and we want to make sure that the eighth note gets the beat. So the first note in the entire work, the dotted quarter, gets held for 3 beats, not a beat and a half. The second movement is marked at 96, but it also says Allegro. 96 is not a fast tempo, it's more of a stately tempo, and it would be best if it was interpreted this way. The problem with both of these tempos is that they like to go in their own extremes. So the first movement, as you get more comfortable with it, you're going to want to play slower and slower, and the second movement wants to go faster as you get more comfortable with it. So it's very important that you practice with a metronome at all times. That way, when you come to your audition, you're playing right in the pocket of the written tempo. Throughout the work, but primarily in the second movement, there's lots of angular writing, and by this I mean there are large skips and leaps melodically. It becomes difficult to put these ideas together and make them flow in a phrase. What I'm going to recommend that you do is be able to sing all of the material. This is going to help your note accuracy and confidence. After you can sing all of the material, I highly recommend you buzz on your mouthpiece or a mouthpiece rim. This is really going to help connect everything throughout. Movement 2, there's a lot of potential for playing choppy phrases, and this is because Handel uses very short 6 and 7 note motifs, and he strings those together to form phrases. And so we want to make sure that these are nice and connected. How we do that is that the quarter notes before the eighth note rests, we're going to make sure that we play those all the way to the rest. This puts the ideas as close together as they can, and the phrases are going to be much longer as a result. As far as dynamics go in this piece, we want to make sure that we have a clear distinction between our forte, our mezzo forte, and our piano, because there are a lot of subito dynamic changes in this work, and we want to make sure that these changes are clear to the judges that listen to your audition. In the second movement, there are lots of long, gradual dynamic changes that take place over several measures. And a really good example of this is measure 13 through measure 17 of the second movement. And so we have piano marked right before 13 here, but we don't have another dynamic marking until the end of measure 17 at forte. So what I'm going to recommend you do is write in checkpoint dynamics. And so at the end of 15, I would write a mezzo piano. And at the end of 16, I would write a mezzo forte. That lets me know that I shouldn't get to forte until all the way at the end of measure 17. That's really going to help your audition come out much more clear and musically. So a mark of the second movement is the repeated markings that we have. And so the first section, it's written out, but it is a repeat of measures 1 through measure 19. That material repeats further. And then we have a repeat between measure 39 and measure 57. There's an endurance aspect to this that we want to make sure that we're ready for our audition. That's a lot of playing with no rest. At the end, we have marked poco retard on repeat. And we want to make sure that we retard the second time through and slow down gradually. However, it's not that much. It's just poco, just a little bit. And so we don't want to make it very dramatic, we just want to make it like a bow at the end of a formal dance. Most importantly, I want to make sure that you have fun throughout this process. Whenever we're auditioning for things like this or doing anything of a competitive nature, it's easy to get lost in the competitive aspect of what we're doing. Remember that we play our instruments, we don't work our instruments, so have fun. I'm Ian McCollum at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and I wish you the best of luck on your 2019 All-State audition. Happy practicing.